What if I told you that hidden within the ancient texts of the Bible are coded messages? Messages that connect our world today to events from thousands of years ago. Messages that reveal an ongoing spiritual war that continues to this very day. In this video, we will uncover hidden insights that have never been made public before, secrets that tie together Yahya Sinwar, the former leader of Hamas, with the ancient force of evil known as Amalek. Make sure to stay with us until the end of this video as we reveal the deep connections and their importance to the world today. Let's start with Amalek. In the Jewish tradition, Amalek represents more than just a historical nation. Amalek is a symbol of unprovoked and malicious evil, an enemy that reappears in every generation bent on destruction. The story of Amalek begins in the book of Exodus, chapter 17, verses 8 through 16. The Israelites had just escaped slavery in Egypt, crossed the Red Sea, and were vulnerable in the wilderness. It was in this moment, when they were tired and exposed, that Amalek struck, attacking without cause. Amalek's attack was not just a military strike. The Bible tells us that Amalek targeted the weakest, the stragglers, the elderly, the sick, those who couldn't defend themselves. Amalek's cruelty was designed to not just defeat the Israelites, but to utterly destroy them, showing a lack of morality and a disregard for life. This made Amalek a symbol of evil across the ages, a force that seeks to destroy the light of goodness wherever it can. Because of Amalek's cruelty, the Bible commands us to blot out the memory of Amalek. But it also warns us that Amalek will reappear throughout history. In Jewish thought, Amalek represents any force that seeks to destroy the innocent, to prey on the weak, and to extinguish the light of morality. The battle against Amalek is not just a historical event, it's an ongoing spiritual war. Fast forward to today. Many people believe that the spirit of Amalek is alive and well in groups like Hamas, who have waged a campaign of terror against Israel for years. On October 7, 2023, Hamas launched a devastating attack that sent shockwaves throughout the world. Over 1,200 people were killed, more than 3,400 were wounded, and 247 soldiers and civilians were taken hostage. But this wasn't a traditional battlefield. This was a deliberate attack on civilians, families, children, and the elderly were targeted in their homes and in the streets. Doesn't this remind you of Amalek's cruelty? Just as Amalek targeted the weakest of the Israelites in the wilderness, Hamas attacked the most vulnerable of Israeli society, those who couldn't defend themselves. The parallels between the two are clear. Amalek, in its modern form, still seeks to sow fear and chaos. And just like in ancient times, this evil has no respect for human life or dignity. This is why many see Hamas's attack as not just a military operation, but part of a larger spiritual battle, a battle that echoes the ancient struggle between Israel and Amalek, a battle between good and evil, between those who uphold life and those who seek to destroy it. But who was Yahya Sinwar? And why is he seen as a modern incarnation of Amalek? Sinwar rose to power within Hamas, a terrorist organization dedicated to the destruction of Israel. Under his leadership, Hamas carried out some of its most brutal attacks, using rocket fire, suicide bombings, and kidnappings to terrorize Israeli civilians. One of the most infamous tactics was the use of underground tunnels, which Hamas built to smuggle weapons and militants into Israel. These tunnels were not designed for soldiers. They were built to attack civilians. Sinwar wasn't just a figurehead. He was a mastermind behind many of these deadly operations. His leadership within Hamas made him a key player in the strategy to spread fear, chaos, and destruction. And in this sense, Sinwar's actions mirror those of Amalek. Just like Amalek, he sought to destroy, to target the innocent, and to bring down Israel by any means necessary. But what if I told you that the connection between Yahya Sinwar and Amalek goes deeper than just the parallels in their actions? Jewish scholars have long studied the hidden patterns in the Bible using a system called Bible codes or Gematria. In this system, each Hebrew letter is assigned a numerical value, and by calculating the numerical values of words and names, we can uncover hidden connections and deeper meanings within the sacred text. For thousands of years, Gematria has revealed spiritual links between people, places, and events that might not be obvious on the surface. Today, we will apply this ancient method to Yahya Sinwar's name, and what we find is nothing short of astonishing. When we calculate the numerical value of Yahya Sinwar's name in Hebrew, we get the number 362. But this number isn't random. It connects to several key phrases that describe forces of evil in the Bible. One of these phrases is City of Gaza, which was Yahya Sinwar's stronghold, the place from which he orchestrated attacks on Israel. This connection is profound, as it highlights the central role that Gaza played in Sinwar's plans to spread terror. The city of Gaza, Ir Aza, also equals 362. But perhaps even more significant is the fact that the number 362 also matches the phrase enemy of our God, King of the world, Oyev Elokeinu Melech HaOlam. This suggests that Sinwar was not just a political figure or a military leader. His actions place him in direct opposition to divine justice and God's plan for humanity. In the same way that Amalek represented a force of evil that stood against Israel, Sinwar's leadership in Hamas positioned him as an enemy not just of Israel, but of the moral order itself. But the connections don't stop there. Lastly, the Bible codes reveal the phrase rebel against God, Mored HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which confirms that Sinwar's actions were not just physical. He was leading a spiritual rebellion against the forces of good and light. But Yahya Sinwar wasn't acting alone. The Bible codes reveal connections to other dark forces operating in the world today. Names like ISIS, Iran, and even Satan himself appear in the codes alongside Sinwar's. ISIS, a violent extremist group, shares many of the same goals as Hamas, spreading terror and destruction across the globe. Iran, a major supporter of Hamas, has provided weapons, funding, and strategic support to groups committed to Israel's destruction. And perhaps most shockingly, the name Satan appears multiple times in the Bible codes. In Jewish tradition, Satan represents the ultimate force of opposition to God's will. The appearance of Satan's name in connection with Sinwar and his allies is no coincidence. It suggests that this is more than just a political or military conflict. This is a spiritual battle, one that has been raging since the days of Amalek, and one that continues to this very day. The connections between Sinwar, Amalek, and this ancient battle don't end there. The Bible codes also bring us back to one of the most famous stories in Jewish history, the story of Purim. Purim is a holiday that celebrates the defeat of Haman, a descendant of Amalek. Haman, much like Sinwar, sought to destroy the Jewish people, but through the courage of Queen Esther and her cousin Mordecai, Haman's plans were thwarted, and the Jewish people were saved. The names Esther, Mordecai, and Purim appear alongside Yahya Sinwar in the Bible codes. Just as the Jewish people were saved in the days of Esther, the Bible codes remind us that even in the face of overwhelming evil, there is always hope. God's hand is present, guiding the events of history and ensuring that justice prevails. One of the most striking connections in the Bible codes is to the prophecy of Gog and Magog. This phrase, end of the world, Gog and Magog, Sof Olam, Gog and Magog, appears alongside Yahya Sinwar's name. In Jewish prophecy, Gog and Magog represent a final apocalyptic battle between the forces of good and evil that will take place before the coming of the Messiah. Sinwar's actions, when viewed through the lens of the Bible codes, appear to be part of this larger cosmic struggle. Just as Amalek was defeated in ancient times, the Bible codes suggest that the forces of evil that Yahya Sinwar represented will also face their day of reckoning. This final battle, described in the prophecies of Gog and Magog, is a reminder that no matter how dark the world may seem, good will ultimately triumph. Yahya Sinwar may be gone, but the forces of evil he represented are still very much alive. The Bible codes have shown us that this is not just a political conflict, it is part of a spiritual war that has been fought for thousands of years, a war between light and darkness, between good and evil. The question now is, what role will you play in this battle? Will you stand for truth, justice, and divine order, or will you remain on the sidelines? The choice is yours. If this message intrigued you, please subscribe, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Join us on this journey as we continue to uncover the hidden truths within the Bible and the spiritual battles shaping our world today.